What up, sports fans? Welcome to Who Wore It Best Jersey Royale. I'm your host, Kaleigh Krish, bringing you the stats, facts, and career highlights of the best athletes in the world. On this show, I like to make my athletes battle it out for the right to call themselves the best. Now, how do we do that? Well, each week I pick a number between 0 and 99, and then we break down the best athletes to ever wear that number. It could be anyone from baseball to cricket, football to soccer, and everywhere in between. If they are the best, then you will find them here. Once we've looked at the career highlights of each of our contenders, it is time to pick a winner. So at the end of the show, I will use all of my unbiased sports knowledge and mostly opinion to decide who wears the crown of the best ever to wear that particular number. And forever and ever, they will be the Who Wore It Best champion. Well, now that you know the show, let's get into the number. This week, we will be breaking down the best athletes in the world to ever wear the number 43. All right, you got those athletes in mind? Perfect. Here we go. First up on our list of the best athletes to wear the number 43, it is the King. And no, I am not talking about Elvis Presley. I am actually talking about NASCAR's Richard Petty. Richard Petty is a NASCAR legend. He had a 35-year-long career, which is incredibly impressive when you look at the average career of a NASCAR driver. It's 6.5 years. Petty started his career at the age of 21. And lucky for him, his dad Lee was already in the biz as a NASCAR driver himself. And in fact, when Petty won his first race in his rookie year, his dad protested the score on an official's error. A few hours later, Lee Petty was named the winner. That's right, he took the race from his own dang kid. Now that is the kind of competition we like to see here. Now Petty still went on to win NASCAR's Rookie of the Year after taking 9 top 10 finishes, including 6 top 5 finishes. The next year, he finished second in the NASCAR Grand National Points race, and he got his first career win at Charlotte Fairgrounds Speedway. But in 1963, that was his breakout year, winning at tracks like Martinsville and Bridgehampton. And the next year, Petty led 184 of 200 laps to capture his first Daytona 500 en route to 9 victories that season, and his first Grand National Championship. In 1966, Petty would overcome a 2-lap deficit to win the Daytona 500 again, making him the first driver to win that event twice. The next year was a milestone for the King, and actually, this was the year that he would earn that nickname after an impressive run, winning 27 of 48 races he entered, including, get this, a record 10 wins in a row. That is incredible. And that year, of course, he would win his second Grand National Championship. In 1971, after a couple of car changes and more wins under his belt, Petty would win his third Daytona 500, and of course, being the only driver to win 3 races at Daytona in their career. He would win 20 more races that season on his way to his third Grand National Championship, now called the Winston Cup Series, and eventually it would be named the NASCAR Cup Series, so I'm just gonna start calling it that from now on. We got it? Cool. Next season, thanks to his 28 top 10 finishes, 25 top 5 finishes, and 8 victories, Petty went on to win his 4th NASCAR Cup Series. 1975 was another historic year for Petty as he won the World 600 for the first time in his career, one of 13 victories en route to his 6th NASCAR Cup. Those 13 victories is a modern NASCAR record for victories in a season and was eventually tied in 1998 by Mr. Jeff Gordon. Now, although Gordon won 13 out of 33 races as opposed to Petty's 13 out of 30. So who really did it better? And in 1976, Petty was involved in one of the most famous finishes in NASCAR history. The King and David Pearson were racing on the last lap out of turn 4 in the Daytona 500. As Petty tried to pass Pearson at the exit of turn 4, Petty's right rear bumper hit Pearson's left front bumper. The two drivers both spun out and hit the front stretch wall. Now, Petty's car came to a rest just yards from the finish line, but his engine stalled. And while his pit crew came out to try to push the car to the finish line, Pearson's engine was still going. and he was able to get to the finish line before Petty, ultimately stripping him of his 5th Daytona 500 win. But no tears. He would eventually win 2 more, including in 1979 and 81. In the 79 win, that is credited as a big surge in NASCAR popularity. This event had all the drama that fans love to see. It was the first televised live flag-to-flag Daytona, and the East Coast was snowed in, giving NASCAR a captive audience. This race had a final lap crash, fistfights, and underdog story that you love to hear. Take a look.
Where will Kale make his move? He comes to the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Kale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They drive into the turn. They're hitting the wall. They're head on the wall. They slide down to the inside. Let's watch those third-place cars. They're out of it. Coming down, Richard Petty is now pulling out in front. Darrell Waltrip is in second. A.J. Boyd is in third. Here they come. Waltrip trying to slingshot. Petty is out in front at the line. Waltrip to the inside. Petty wins it. Down on pit road. It has gone crazy. The Petty crew is out there jumping up and down. Petty has won it. Richard Petty, the great master, has just recorded his 186th career, and there's a fight between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison. The tempers overflowing. They're angry. They know they have lost. And what a bitter defeat.
In 1991, Petty announced that he would retire after the 92 season. Petty's final appearance is still considered as the greatest race in NASCAR history. Not only was this the end of his 35-year-long career, but it was Jeff Gordon's first career start, and it was the second closest points race in NASCAR history, where 6 drivers were mathematically eligible to win the championship. A record 160,000 spectators attended the race and celebrated Petty's farewell. Petty was inducted into the first class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2010. A pretty outstanding career for this driver. All right, let's move on from Petty to Polamalu as we look at our next contender on the best to wear the number 43, Troy Polamalu. Troy played 12 years in the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers and is considered a premier safety of his era. The guy was not only known for his beautiful locks, but also for his range, explosiveness, and impact on the field. Prior to being drafted to the Steelers, Polamalu was a 2-time first-team All-American for the USC Trojans. His sophomore year was his breakout year, recording 2 tackles and had an interception that he turned into a 43-yard touchdown in the season opener. He would finish that season with 83 tackles, 5 tackle for losses, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown. And while his sophomore season put him on the map, his junior year was where he shone the most. At the start of the season, he was named team captain and followed that up with huge performance. In a game against Kansas State, he had a game-high 13 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble. Polamalu would continue his dominance against his Pac-10 rivals. Against Stanford, he made a game-high 10 stops, 1 tackle for loss, and his first blocked punt of the season. Against Washington, he had a game-high 13 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and an interception that he returned for a 22-yard touchdown. At one point, he had a streak of 6 games in a row where he led both teams in tackles. Polamalu finished his junior campaign with a team-high 118 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 3 blocked punts, and 2 touchdowns. He won USC's MVP award and was voted to his first-team All-American. Polamalu finished his college career with 278 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions, 4 blocked punts, and 3 touchdowns. In the 2003 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers traded up from the 27th spot to the 16th spot to pick Troy in the first round, becoming only the second safety the Steelers had ever taken in the first round. In 2004, Polamalu would win the starting job over Mike Logan and would make his first NFL start in the season opener. And in fact, he had completely dominated that year, recording a season-high 96 combined tackles, 67 of those solo, 10 pass deflections, 5 interceptions, and 1 touchdown. He was named to his first Pro Bowl. The Steelers had an incredible season, finishing first in the AFC North with a 15-1 record. Polamalu recorded 7 combined tackles, a pass deflection, and an interception in his first playoff game, and helped to advance the team to the AFC Championship game. This safety's prowess continued into the 2005 season, even setting the NFL record for most sacks by a safety in a single game, with 3 against Houston Texans quarterback David Carr. The Steelers would once again make it to the playoffs, and Troy would gain his 2nd consecutive Pro Bowl and was named first-team All-Pro. In the AFC wildcard game, Polamalu recorded 6 tackles and intercepted a pass in the 31-17 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. That win would launch the momentum that took them all the way to the Super Bowl and ultimately winning Super Bowl 40. Polamalu would be voted to 3 more Pro Bowls and another first-team All-Pro in between Super Bowl appearances. In 2008, the Steelers had finished with a 12-4 record, and Troy recorded 73 combined tackles, 54 of those solo, a career-high 17 pass deflections, and a career-high 7 interceptions in the regular season. In the AFC Championship game, the safety had 4 combined tackles, 2 pass deflections, and intercepted a pass by Joe Flacco and returned it for a 40-yard touchdown in the 4th quarter to secure the 23-14 victory. He would go on to win his 2nd Super Bowl. And just 2 seasons later, Polamalu would make his 3rd Super Bowl appearance, this time recording 3 solo tackles. But it wasn't enough, as the Steelers were defeated by none other, the Green Bay Packers, 31-25. Now, this was an incredibly stressful game for me, as you can imagine. That year, Polamalu was named AP Defensive Player of the Year, won the NFL Alumni Player of the Year, and Defensive Back of the Year award. In 2015, Polamalu announced his retirement from professional football. He finished a 12-year career with 770 tackles, 32 interceptions, and 3 touchdowns. Troy was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2020, his first year of eligibility, and sits on the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor. Polamalu was named to the NFL's 2000s All-Decade Team and the Pittsburgh Steelers All-Time Team. An amazing career for such a humble guy. All right, time to move on to our 3rd player of the night, pitcher Dennis Eckersley. Eckersley was a right-handed pitcher known for his unusual delivery, utilizing a high leg kick along with a long, pronounced sidearm throwing motion. The guy had pinpoint accuracy. And kind of like we're seeing pitchers nowadays being more showy, Eck was known for this, being aggressive and animated on the mound, giving guys intimidating stares, and pumping his fists during strikeouts, kind of like Joe Kelly and Brewster Gratterall. Eck spent time as a starter and a closer, becoming only the 2nd pitcher in Major League history to have both a 20-win season and a 50-save season in a career. As a starter, he threw 4 pitches for strikes, but as a closer, he narrowed it down to just 2 pitches, the sinker and a backdoor slider. Eckersley was selected by the Cleveland Indians in the 3rd round of the 1972 MLB draft, and in '75, he became an American League Rookie Pitcher of the Year, compiling a 13-7 win-loss record and a 2.60 ERA. In '77, he threw a no-hitter against the Angels, striking out 12 batters and only allowed 2 to reach base. Eck was selected to his first All-Star game and finished with a 14-13 record. Eckersley had a consistent few years with the Indians before making the rounds with the Red Sox and the Cubs. In 1987, he would be traded to the Oakland Athletics, and due to an injury to their normal closer, Eckersley would get his shot. That year, he saved 16 games and really established himself as a dominant closer in '88 by recording a league-leading 45 saves. Eckersley recorded 4 saves against the Red Sox in the regular season, and then dominated the Sox again with another 4 saves when the A's swept them in the ALCS. Unfortunately for the A's, they were on the wrong side of Kirk Gibson's 1988 World Series home run, and fun fact, it was actually Eckersley who coined the phrase walk-off home run. The A's would lose to the Dodgers in 5. But no tears, because the A's would find themselves back in the World Series a year later, where Eck secured a victory in Game 2, earned the final save of the series as the A's swept the San Francisco Giants. Eckersley was the best closer in the game from '88 to '92, finishing first in the AL in saves twice, second 2 other times, and third once. He saved 220 games during the 5 years as a closer and never posted an ERA higher than 2.96. I mean, the guy gave up 5 earned runs in the entire 1990 season. That gave him a .61 ERA. Eckersley's control was his trademark. He walked only 3 batters in 57.2 innings in 1989, 4 batters in 73.1 innings in 1990. In fact, between August 7th, 1989 and June 10th, 1990, he appeared in 41 games without walking a single batter. And in 1990, Eckersley became the first relief pitcher in baseball history to have more saves than base runners allowed. In 1992, when he posted 51 saves, he was the AL MVP and Cy Young Award winner. In 1998, Dennis Eckersley announced his retirement from baseball, bringing his 23-year career to a close. He retired with a career 197 and 171 win-loss record, a 3.5 ERA, and 390 saves. When Eck retired, he had appeared in more games than any other pitcher in Major League history, with 1,071. And in '99, he ranked in the Sporting News' top 100 of the greatest baseball players. In his first year of eligibility, Eckersley was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame with 83.2% of the votes. In 2005, the A's retired Eck's number 43. And here we go. Our last contender of the night goes to Dallas Cowboys safety Cliff Harris. Cliff played for the Cowboys for 10 seasons, despite not being selected in the 1970 NFL Draft. The Cowboys ended up inviting him to training camp, and then he signed as a free agent after beating out third-round draft pick Charlie Waters. And in his first season, even though military service would take him out of the second half of the season, Harris was back in time for his first Super Bowl appearance. Harris was nicknamed Captain Crash by his teammates for his hard-hitting technique and reckless pursuit of ball carriers. And in fact, the Cowboys' defense ranked in the top 10 every year that Harris was in the lineup. After his rookie season, Harris's role widened to include kick return duties, averaging an incredible 28.4 yards per kick return that season. In 1974, that would be his first of 6 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances. But Cliff Harris was at his best in the postseason, finishing his career with 6 interceptions and 4 forced fumbles in 21 postseason games. By the way, this is before the NFL started keeping track of tackles. During his 10-year career, Cliff participated in 5 Super Bowls, winning 2 of them, including the Cowboys' first World Championship with their victory over the Miami Dolphins 24-3. Thanks to Harris and the Cowboys' defense, they would hold the record for the fewest points allowed in a Super Bowl for the next 47 years. 6 years later, Harris would win another ring with the Cowboys in Super Bowl 12, taking down the Denver Broncos and their Orange Crush defense 27-10. At the young age of 31, Cliff Harris would retire from football. He finished his career with 141 games played, 29 interceptions, with 281 interception yards and 1 touchdown, plus 66 punt returns for 418 yards. Harris would collect 4 first-team All-Pros, 6 Pro Bowls, and would make the NFL 1970 All-Decade Team. Cliff also has an award named after him. The Cliff Harris Award is presented to the top defensive player in the country representing Division II, III, and NAIA colleges and universities. And finally, in January 2020, Harris was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There you have it, folks. Our 4 contenders for Who Wore It Best number 43. Let's recap, shall we? We have the King, NASCAR's Richard Petty, 2-time Super Bowl champ Troy Polamalu, 1992's AL MVP Dennis Eckersley, and finally, Hall of Fame safety Cliff Harris. As you know, we will reveal the winner in just a moment, but first, remember, you can check out all the episodes of Who Wore It Best Jersey Royale on the Titan Media Collective YouTube channel. Just find the playlist and get your fill of all the great numbers that we have already covered. As always, remember to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. And hey, while you're at it, give me a follow on Instagram at Cakes88 so you never miss a number. All right, back to the decision at hand. It is time to announce our winner of the best athlete to ever wear the number 43. And I'm telling you, these athletes really gave each other a run for their money. But there has to be one winner, and it is the king himself, Richard Petty. Look, he put NASCAR on the map and brought fans to the scenes. Petty was the first driver to win the Cup Series championship 7 times. Prior to that, the most any driver had ever won was 3. And statistically, he is the most accomplished driver in the history of the sport and is one of the most respected figures in motorsports as a whole. Over his career, he collected a record number of poles with 123 and over 700 top 10 finishes in a record 1,184 starts, including 513 consecutive starts. All right, there you go, fans. Your winner for number 43, Richard Petty. Meet me back here next week for another number and another battle. I'm Kaleigh Krish, this is Who Wore It Best, and I'll see y'all later.